Hi everyone, this is Penny from www.penny-astrology.com, also Whack-A-Witch Astrology here on YouTube and on Facebook. And once again, I'm here to talk to you about moon signs. So this is my second video series for moon signs. I also have tons of infographics on moon signs that I've posted on Pinterest and on Facebook because they are so important. It represents your emotional body. It represents who you are at your core. It gives us a lot of detail about where your soul is at in its journey. And it also tells us a little bit about your life purpose and your life path. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about how your upbringing and how the people who raised you helped define your life path and helped you fulfill your karmic purpose in this lifetime. And you're already in the process of fulfilling it. If in case you didn't already know, you are already fulfilling that life's purpose right now. So, moon in Aquarius. People are so important for moon and Aquarius. It might not just be two people, it might not just be one person, but the community as a whole, being able to relate to people, a lot of times on a mass scale. There's a lot of very, very famous people who have moon in Aquarius, and that's because they're so likable. They're so good at relating to people, and you guys are kind of in your element when you are doing that. You might have felt like an outcast, like a weirdo, like kind of the odd one out a lot of times in your upbringing. Probably not the most unpopular kid in school, because that was me, and my moon is in Capricorn. Thank you very much. But you might have been, not quite one of the cool kids, not cool enough to be like the it crowd, but a little bit stuck somewhere in between. You might have felt a little bit odd. I think all of you, or at least most of you, have at least one parent who suffered from anxiety and who worried a lot about what other people were thinking. And you noticed this. You noticed this a lot, and you were probably worried about your parent, and you realized how much you didn't want to let those same types of thoughts and those same types of worries affect you. But you realize that's also part of the human condition. Everyone has anxiety. Everyone worries about whether or not they're liked. And sooner or later, you come to find that the cure to that is acknowledging those thoughts and those moments of panic in other people. Knowing that you're not the only one, knowing that we can all relate to each other as humans in this way, we can each be there for one another so that none of us have to be the odd one out. So having your moon sign in Aquarius has a lot to do with camaraderie. It has a lot to do with coming together and finding your people. Moon in Aquarius has a need for constant change, but not change that is forced. Forced change will break the flow of energy for you. It'll feel unnatural. It'll feel painful. The change has to come with a natural flow, constantly moving energy, constantly moving parts and things just kind of coming together in life. Things need to happen naturally for those who have moon in Aquarius. You might notice that if you let yourself stay in one spot for too long, then the energy gets really stagnant. I mean, just to some extent that happens for everyone. But for moon in Aquarius, you guys will really lose your vibe when that happens. You'll lose that good positive vibe, and it might even feel like you lose everything that makes you you if you stay in one spot for too long, and if you're just around the same people nonstop. I mean, you need things kind of coming in and out and all that kind of thing. So I'm just going to check my notes here. These are my own notes. I got accused of reading books during my videos once when I was very, very new, because I was too nervous to be able to remember everything I said. But I am the one who writes said books. Thank you very much. So you need and you adore to have constant change, and you have a lot of charisma. You have great energy. You guys are usually really fun to be around. But the thing about it is, like, we know immediately when things get stale because you kind of lose that energy, and it's kind of like you get in a bad mood and everything. But yeah, you also have something about you where you want to not have to care what other people think. And on some level, you do actually achieve that. But the ironic thing is that you achieve it through caring more, if that makes any sense. It's almost like when you get to a point where, you know, you're super up close and personal with everyone, and you've opened your heart up to them as a person and realize that they have their own anxieties and their own flaws and everything, that makes you worry less about your own self. So it's kind of like finding a way to blend in even when you have a lot of energy that is being drawn to you, because people do tend to get very drawn to Moon and Aquarius people. And that's part of the reason why there's so many super, super famous people who have Moon and Aquarius. It's because people are drawn to you. And I think Moon and Aquarius tends to have a worry that they're going to stand out like a sore thumb, that something is going to be wrong about them, whether, you know, it's some insecurity like, oh my gosh, I don't look quite right. I don't look the way that I'm supposed to look, or what have you. Or, you know, I'm not as attractive as I should be. All those kind of petty, super material concerns that everyone has to some extent. You should realize at some point that people find you beautiful because you are exactly the way you are, because you are human, because you are natural to some extent. But yeah. So another big part of your life is finding out what freedom really means to you. Freeing yourself from negative emotions, from codependent attachments to people. And I mean, you guys are usually pretty good at avoiding any type of codependency, but the part that doesn't come as naturally is finding that deeper analysis of what it actually means to be free and which things we need to free ourselves from, like negative thoughts, negative ideas, and specifically finding relationships that make us feel free, not being in the relationships that make us feel trapped, that make us feel limited. And a lot of people might inaccurately assume that Moon and Aquarius doesn't want to be in a relationship at all, and that's not true. That's not true at all. Moon in Aquarius has pretty good insight as to what is healthy for them and what isn't healthy for them. And if you try to ignore that and force yourself into a situation that you know feels wrong, then you're not going to feel free. But there are people who you can feel free alongside, who you feel like you are as much of yourself as ever, and you're not being limited in any way at all. But I believe Britney Spears actually has her Moon in Aquarius, so she's a great example of this right now, especially with what has recently happened. There were so many people in her life that were not allowing her to feel free. And she apparently had been trying to get out of that situation for a very long time. But yeah. I talked about the parents. I talked about how the mind can become like a prison, although I didn't say it quite in those words. Oh, right, and the meaning of life and contemplation is important for Moon and Aquarius, because you want to understand basically the human condition and what's going on with people. That's probably why a lot of them get involved in entertainment, because like the idea of acting, it is becoming different people, understanding those people's perspective. Yeah, and meditation also tends to be something that a lot of Moon and Aquarius people are into, because it helps you dive deeper into what is the meaning of life, and, you know, what is the meaning of specifically being incarnated as a human, as we all have been. I mean, some of you watching this video might be cats. I know there's a lot of cats on the internet too. Your cat might be watching the video with you. Maybe your cat's getting something out of it, but, you know, let me know in the comments below what your cat got out of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here with me today. And if you would like to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description below. $1 or $5 a month, or whatever you can, so that we can all continue to exist. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna keep creating content even if you don't donate to Patreon. Obviously, because I can't help it. I'm an astrologer, is what I do. It's like a compulsive obsession. But yeah, you can donate to Patreon if you want to. Okay, bye.